Um, it's hard to even know where to start with somebody like this. It's such an honor to get Coach Mullins on our little upstart podcast thing, whatever this is. I'm still not sure what it is, but somebody who has fought the good fight for a long, long time and built an absolutely enormous group of believers out of this, not following him. If there's anything that I have learned in the short amount of time that I've gotten the privilege of spending time with Coach, it's that he's not a cult of personality. It's not about Coach. It's not the Coach show when you go to his church. It's pointing everybody toward the Savior. So, Coach, take it away.
Thank you so much, Chuck. It's a real honor to be with all of you today. And JT, great job. I'm going to get down that galley and keep rolling, baby. Keep rolling. Keep after it. I mean, listen, I'm going to preach that over here. All right. And I might or might not remember to give you credit, but I will preach it. Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you for having me on. It was great. Graham, thank you for opening us in prayer. Brian, your music, I love you, son. You're just great. You're very gifted. And what an honor to be here with Leroy today. And I want to thank you men who have served, are serving, and have served our nation so faithfully. It blows me away. I'm humbled so much by that. Well, I've got a simple word today for the guys joining us, and we all know this word. We're all we all very much aware of that. But being an old football coach, I coached football for about 15 years on the high school and college level. I was a college head coach, and one thing that we coaches always do, we go back and review the fundamentals all the time, because we know that's the difference when you're able to execute the fundamentals under pressure. Under fatigue, when you're battling fatigue in that fourth quarter, and you've got to execute with precision. It gets back to who executes the fundamentals better, usually comes out on top. So this is a simple fundamental thing I want to remind the men of today. And here's a simple thought I have for you today. You've got to team up to move up. So we all know that principle. But one of the biggest tricks of the enemy, especially in difficult, challenging times, he tries to isolate us, get us to isolate and insulate ourselves from the others that we need to be with. So it's so important that we are teaming up with the right people, because it's only then that we're able to move up to the level of real impact and victory that God has ordained for us in our lives, in our marriages, in our families, in our businesses, and everything that we do. It matters who we're teaming up with. So, one of the stories I love in the Bible is found in 1 Samuel chapter 14. And here's what's interesting. Before David came on the scene and defeated Goliath, this young man was the real champion of Israel, and his name was Jonathan. He's the son of the first king of Israel, Saul. And in chapter 14, we hear the archenemy of the Philistines. They came in massively. They're well equipped. They've got all the current armor and weapons, and the Israelites, they were not equipped for battle, because remember, God would fight the battles for them in the past, but now they wanted their own king. They wanted to have their own army. They wanted to be like other nations, and they found themselves in a massive time of retreat. So they retreated into isolated places. They retreated into dark places. They went into caves, into hiding, and the Philistines took all the high ground. And then they would rape the land, rape the women, take the kids and everyone as slaves. It was horrible what was happening, the oppression. But then there's one man who said, I've had enough. I'm not going to stay in a hidden place. He stepped out, and his name was Jonathan. And he stepped out into a low position. You military guys, you'd want to take him on, from a high position, but he's down in a low position in a valley. The Philistines see him. They make fun of him. They mock him. But he looks at his armor bearer he's got with him, and he says, perhaps the Lord will give them to us today, because we can win whether it's by many or few if we have God with us. And so he took the challenge. He made the move. But here's the verse I love, found in verse 7 of 1 Samuel chapter 14. The armor bearer looks at Jonathan, and he says, I'm with you, heart and soul. And so Jonathan and the armor bearer made their way up that side of that cliff to take on this squad of Philistine soldiers. They got up there. There's about 20 soldiers up there in this squad, and they started to fight. Now, here's what's interesting. Jonathan is the only one that had weapons. The armor bearer had no weapons. They get up there, and I can see it in my mind's eye. When Jonathan struck down the first Philistine, he fell. The armor bearer grabbed that guy's sword, got back to back with Jonathan, and they fought. And the Bible says they fought in an area that's about the size of a half an acre of ground. And they fought and defeated the enemy together. And I love that picture, because Jonathan could not have had that great victory. That, by the way, it struck terror in the rest of the Philistine army when this report got back to them, and they began to flee in terror. And then when the report got to the Israeli army, they came out of hiding with King Saul, and they chased the enemy out of their nation, recovering most of what had been stolen from them. And so Jonathan, of course, became this great hero for taking that offensive position, getting on offense, not being on defense. Matter of fact, that's the next book I'm writing, Chuck. I'm writing a book for men, get on offense. You know, people talk about you win games of defense. My philosophy is the greatest defense is a great offense. So, you know, anyway, that's a whole nother story, another time we can share when we get into that. But the whole principle of this is it matters who you're climbing with. It matters who you're fighting with. You guys have been about it. You understand that better than any of us. But I'm concerned that we as men have a tendency to pull back in difficult times. And when we're struggling in our personal lives or struggling in our businesses, we have a tendency to pull away from the very people we need to lean into during these times. And so that is so critical, who we are teaming up with. Chuck, when I went to college to play football, I was a running back at the time. I played back in the 60s. Now, most of you weren't born then, but that's when I played back in the 60s. And in the 60s, they didn't believe in giving you water during practice. It's like water made you weak, you know, or somehow. So that they would give us salt tablets. Okay, that's the only thing they give you a salt tablet. Like, hello, you know, they believe that a salt tablet and athletic tape would cure cancer and anything else that you had, you know, going on in your life. And so I came out of Ohio. I played football in Southern Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. I was an all-state running back, and I went to this Division II school, and I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna be a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. But what I didn't know was it's a big difference when you hit 250-pound boys in high school and you hit 290 to 300-pound men in college. And some of these guys had just come out of the jungles of Vietnam, okay? And they're there on a GI Bill. And I mean, these dudes had a strange look in their eyes. And I mean, you know what? And they had this code that kill all freshmen on site. So it's like, you know, the unspoken code, kill every freshman. We had our own locker room, and we all practiced together, of course. And they were taking us out every day, man. They're dragging guys off the field. You know, it's unbelievable. And my roommate, he quit and left on about the third day. He couldn't take it. He was gone. And I thought I was great. I thought I was strong. I thought I was in great shape. You know, I was weighing about 210 at the time as a running back, had decent speed for a white boy. We're banging after it every day, going those 2 a days and not giving us water, getting so dehydrated. It's crazy. And I tell you, I'd thrown up everything I'd eaten for days. This one practice, this one afternoon, and I was so dehydrated. I was dizzy, delirious. And for the first time, Chuck, I thought, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I honestly don't know if I can make it. I never had a quitting thought ever in my mind in sports. I love my sports, every sport, whatever season was, that's what I was engaged in. But this time, I didn't think I could make it. And then the coach blows the whistle to line up for wind sprints. For all of you who played football, you know you close out every practice running 40-yard wind sprints. So here we are lining up for that, and I'm gasping for breath. I can't hardly get a breath, and I'm thinking, I can't make it. They're literally, this is no joke, they're dragging bodies off the field and stacking them up over on the side. They're grabbing guys and dragging them over and just laying them on the side of the field. They look like, you know, we just came out of a big battle, a bomb exploded in the middle of us. They're just dragging bodies over, and guys are just, it's boom, there we go. And the coach, he didn't care. They didn't care at all. He just said, yeah, let them die. If you just, you know, get tough or die, you know, here we go. So I'm standing there ready to quit, can't make it, can't breathe, and something miraculously happened. This All-American senior running back by the name of Charlie. He came walking by me and he said, "Hey, rookie." Well, I was shocked he knew my name. You know, and he said, "Hey, rookie," because they never spoke to us. He said, "Hey, rookie," he said, "Run with me." When he said that, I got down beside him, Leroy, and I just locked in on his feet. Actually, I remember looking down at his feet, and when he took off, I took off, and I just tried to get in rhythm and actually draft off of Charlie as we ran down the field for that first 40-yard sprint. And I jogged back behind him, lined up beside him, and somehow I got through those 40-yard sprints that day by drafting off Charlie. When we finished and blew the whistle, practice over, I collapsed right where I was on the field. I could not walk off the field. I was so exhausted. Charlie walked by me. He said, "Rookie, you're going to make it." And then left me. Where do you think I lined up every day after every practice? Where do you think I lined up in every drill? Right beside Charlie. And Charlie got me through the rest of those 2-a-days. And then lo and behold, I was about to quit when Charlie came around. When season started, by the second game of the season, I earned a starting position on that football team. And when I earned that starting position, then I got accepted by all the upperclassmen. I had earned my way into there. But here's what I'm trying to emphasize today, and it's very obvious. I don't think I would have made it if Charlie hadn't come by me that day and said, "Hey, rookie, run with me." So I think it's so critical, guys, that we are teaming up with like-minded men of faith that will help us run the race that God's called us to run and run it well. And I believe with all my heart, when you team up with the right people, it's going to make all the difference in the world in your life, and especially now. And we who are more mature in the faith, have been down this road, we need to grab these rookies and say, "Rookie, come run with me," you know? And we as rookies need to be looking for those mentors in our lives. Yeah, I heard Howard Hendricks years ago, Chuck, he's a great professor down there in Dallas, and he was speaking at a Promise Keepers event many moons ago. And I heard him say this, so I stuck with me. He said, "You need 3 men in your life. You need 3 men in your life to really fulfill all that God has called you to fulfill." He said, the first man you need in your life, you need a Paul in your life. You need someone who will mentor you, someone who is more mature, stronger in the faith, been down that road, can really give you good counsel, good advice, and encouragement. You need that mentor. You need that Charlie, you know, in my life, in that case, in the football. He said, then you need, the second guy you need is a Barnabas. He said, that's a fellow peer where you are that is there, that can give you encouragement and also give you accountability, you know, because, you know, they know you, you know them, you guys are there working, but you're there to encourage one another, help one another. And then the third person is you need a Timothy in your life. In other words, like Timothy was to Paul, Paul was Timothy's coach. You need someone that you're coaching, someone you're encouraging, someone you're trying to help on their journey, because all three of those people will forge you two major things in your life. One, they will give you inspiration, and two, they will give you accountability. Because when you have inspiration and accountability, you've got a great combination that will keep you moving in the right direction, keep you down in the galley, keep your hands on the oar, and keep you rowing, baby, in the right direction that God has for you. So remember, we have to team up to move up. And you're never going to achieve anything of great significance, men, in your life by yourself. We've got to team up. And I want to encourage you. This is a great thing right here. We're teaming up today, encouraging one another. So stay focused, be intentional. You guys that are more mature, look for some rookie to call up to run with you. And you guys that are gasping for breath, barely holding on, you be looking around to find somebody you can draft off of and run with, okay? And we need one another now more than ever. So we team up to move up to achieve great victory. Hey, God bless you guys. I love you.